I just finished 21st place at one of the largest regional championships in the United States. This weekend at Peoria, Illinois, I finished 21st out of 1,703 Masters players, coming off my top 8 performance in Pittsburgh out of 1,800 players, proving that I'm not just a fluke. Hey guys, my name is Rahul Reddy, and today I'm going to talk about the deck that I played at Peoria Regionals, the list, the decision making behind it, why I played this particular deck, and how my matchup breakdown went. If you guys like this kind of content, obviously please like and subscribe. That's my shill for you guys in the first 30 seconds. And now that's out of the way, let's talk some competitive Pokemon and my journey. So I got to Peoria. I had like a 6:30 a.m. flight, and it was turbo delayed. So I ended up getting into Chicago at like 10:30 in the morning. And then Xander, John, and Alex Rubin were there to pick me up, and we hit the road. We got to Peoria around 2 o'clock, checked in, did all that good stuff, and then I was thinking about decks to play, and I was pretty comfortably set on Lugia. I think Single Strike was like my comfort zone. I had been doing well with it at Cups and Challenges. If you guys have been watching these videos, I've been performing pretty well with the deck at Cups and Challenges, so I felt pretty good about it. And I was like, maybe I just ride it out. Maybe I just do Lugia again. I feel like it's a fine call for the tournament. I get to the venue. I'm kind of talking to people. I check in. And there's a lot of Zard. People are talking a lot of Zard. People really like Zard. People really like this. Xander's cooking this DTE Mew deck with Grabber and Luxray, similar to something that Rowan got top 4 with, actually. And it's not really winning games that get to play the game, like decks that get to play the game, like Chien Pao sometimes. And Lugia were just like farming the deck, and so we were like, yeah, we can't play this. People are going to for sure play Lugia. People are going to for sure play Tina. And then I wanted to, I kind of just like chilled, watched a couple games. I went to dinner with it was my friend Goof George's birthday, and Boosie K, Grant Matthew. So myself, Tord, Ursi Day, a couple other people were there. Nice birthday steak dinner. Had it back at around 10 o'clock p.m. Still set on Lugia. And I already submitted my list before dinner. I was like, I'm not changing decks. I get to the room. I talk to Isaiah, John, and Xander, and they are all on Chien Pao. And I'm like, what happened? So they kind of break down that just like Chien Pao has a ridiculously good matchup spread if you hit what you're supposed to hit. And we expected very little path decks this weekend. Obviously, that didn't hold very true, as you can tell by the top 8. And my losses were all to path decks, and I'll get to that in a second. But we didn't really expect too much path. Therefore, there's no vacuum in this list. And we decided, Chien Pao. And so I go back to the room at like 11:30, and I messaged Justin Bakari, and I said, hey, Justin, what do you think I should do? Do you think I should play Chien Pao? And then Mustafa is there, and Dean, who's one of my locals, also an incredibly good player, won Dallas Regionals in 2018, I believe. Dean is over there explaining to me Chien Pao because he's been playing Chien Pao a ton at our tournaments, and so I kind of get the full matchup breakdown from everybody. And I was like, I tested this deck a lot for Worlds. I'll send it. So I build the cards and I go to bed, having not played a single game with Chien Pao before round 1. So the list here is 3 Chien Pao, pretty standard, I think. 2 60 HP Frigibacks, 1 70 HP Frigibacks, and then 70 HP Frigibacks is very good in certain situations, especially against Lost Box. Definitely can't, you need it sometimes to beat that 70 HP guy. Terrible starter, but probably the worst in the deck. 2 Baxcalibur. I think the logic over the 3rd Baxcalibur versus 2nd Rod is that you don't want to really Pokestop away a Baxcalibur. It's not really a great card to draw. Rod is more burnable and more versatile in a lot of situations. And you kind of feel scared using your Pokestop if you only are only playing heavy Baxcalibur, and let's say your Rod is gone. You really can't make those plays anymore. So this way you can kind of do it and be a little bit more brazy with the deck, because your deck has to commit to the all-in. 2 Barrel, because Barrel is such a crucial part of the engine, and you just need to kind of go off. Grid Engine Man if you're a staple. The Kyogre was a cool addition this weekend, just because we thought that we would need to snipe Luminions against Lugia, and it didn't really do much for me, actually, across the day. It did win me one match, which I will say that's really kind of its entire purpose for it, and it did its job, it did what it's supposed to do. It got me 3 match points, but it did also inhibit me in a couple games by being the opening Pokemon. So in the future, I know a lot of questions were about this. I would cut this guy. This guy's not making the cut. It would probably be a 3rd Nest Ball, or maybe a vacuum if you expect path decks, something like that. Yeah, anyway, 4 Irida, pretty standard. 2 Iona, I think is pretty good. I think Iona, there's going to be times where you need to use it, and it's really important. 4 VIP, 4 Ultra, 4 Crossfit, 4 Superior, 4 Stop. Super standard. I think this is a package you can't exclude. 3 Candy is perfectly fine. 2 Nest Ball is perfectly fine. 2 Cologne. You want to pull off that combo. If you prize it, it's just really sad if you ever get to the part you need to. 2 rod lets you play a little bit more crazy, and you can rod back energies and Chivalry Chill at any point later in the game as well, which is really, really strong at certain points. His Hue and Heavy Bowl, very broken, and 9 waters. That being said, let's jump into my tournament report. Round 1, I hit Trenton playing Zard. Trenton is actually a Chien Pao player. We sat down and we had a little bit of conversation. He was actually super awesome because I asked him a couple questions because I don't know if I did things right because I was definitely like just playing cards and doing stuff. But Trenton, unfortunately, both games was only able to get 1 Zard established, which kind of just gave me the license to go for 6 energy Chien Pao as soon as possible and just pop it. So those games were pretty uneventful. Pretty unfortunate on Trenton's side, but we'll take those. Round 2 was against Jake Sprigman. He was playing Gardevoir. The first game, Jake didn't really get set up too well, and I was able to just Greninja early, and he didn't have a Manaphy in play. So I just was able to take out 2 Curlias after he Mirage stepped. And then he didn't establish a Manaphy again, and I just went again with Greninja. I super rotted and went back in with Greninja, and then the game was pretty much over at that point because I could just do whatever I wanted until I got to the Chien Pao knockout turn on like a 2-prizer. And then game 2, I got the Cologne play off, and that's pretty much lights out. If it's Guardy, like you can't do anything to the Cologne play, so like you just lose your board. You have a Manaphy on board now that doesn't do anything, and your setup is inhibited. So deck worked like a charm, 2-0. Round 3, I go up against Jarek, and Jarek is an awesome player, really good guy, really awesome player, and he definitely proved his worth by putting himself in a win-in position. Coming in at 6-2-1, starting 5-0 in day 2. Incredible accomplishment. Any smaller of a regionals, another 200 people smaller, that's an ID in to cut for Jarek. So we end up playing, I take game 1 in a back and forth bat. He prizes both Pidgey, so he's like, never able to get like a stream of anything going. And I'm able to just like capitalize on that. Game 2, he sets up pretty well. I fall way too far behind, and he's like bossing my backs, stuff like that. Can't really keep up. Game 3 is a back and forth battle, but I end up taking it with just my heavy power Chien Pao attacks, and it was a ton of fun to watch and play. Honestly, it was a blast playing against Jarek. One of my favorite tournament games this weekend. Round 4 was against Avery. He's playing Lost Box Charizard EX. Avery starts the round like with like a cram or something and just passes, and I was like, oh my god. And then I do my whole turn, and then he draws and then like just concedes, and I was like, okay, all right, that's something. And then game 2, we're playing, and he uses my Pokestop and hits like Colress, Zard EX, and then the next course he hits Zard EX, Roxanne Boss. And I was like, oh my god, dude, stop using my Pokestop. This is not going well for you. And then he like looks at his discard, he looks at me, and there's like so many resources in there at this point, like, and I'm just like, you have nothing. Like, I wasn't doing much either. I was like kind of breaking a little bit, but like I had backs and I was like doing some damage here and there. And then I just won. I was like, that was crazy. So 4-0, going on lunch break. Hit 3 Zards, pretty fortunate. Round 5, I hit Adam Kalamat. He has been tearing up the greater Ontario area, I believe. Dominating cups, dominating challenges. Been playing pretty much every deck, honestly, so I didn't know what to expect. He flips over Mew. Game 1, I end up getting him with like the 3-3 knockout, basically. I get to play out of the path. I get double barrel up. Everything's looking good. Game 2 is a quick one. Path, Judge, I can't play out of it. Game 3, Path, Judge, Grabber, gets a Pokemon out of my hand. Luxray gets the Irrid out of my hand. I draw. I Ultra Ball my hand away. Put a Bidoof on the bench. Over to him. He retreats, just knocks out my active with the Mew. I draw. I do tap deck to barrel, so I get to play the game. And I actually put myself in a position where if I can get exactly what I need off of like a couple of the barrels later in the game to just like Chien Pao one-shot his Mew to win the game. But I was a little bit too far behind, and I had way too many cards in my deck that I couldn't thin because Path kept sticking. So Chien Pao just wouldn't get me where I needed to be, which was really unfortunate. So Path Judge kind of sucks for me. And the next round I hit Michael Zealy, and both games were pretty quick lights out with his Miraidon deck. Sets up near flawlessly both games, and it's just a Path Judge affair where my hand is really not conducive to playing the game. I think it was like pretty much like 10 minutes of gameplay where I didn't do anything. And yeah, that was just it. Like I just didn't do anything, and Zealy ran me over with his Path Judge Miraidon deck. So now I'm 4-2. I got to play it out. I got to win out and see what happens. Hit a good buddy, Alex Rubin. Not the name you want to see, especially with someone you drove up with from Chicago. Playing Carlos Lugia. I ended up taking the first game because I just get really far ahead, and he can't keep pace. The next game, he ends up winning pretty quickly by just chasing Baxes, and I can't establish a second Bax at any point from there. If I do, I think I win the game, but I like whiff on a bunch of cards to get it up and running. And then the third game, he does the same thing where he takes out my Frigies and then he takes out a backs by using Mew EX to copy Greninja and then bossing the other backs. But I play around that this time and have a better board state and build a board where it's like, if you take out my backs, I have enough energies to one-shot your guy. If you don't do that, then I still just one-shot your guy. And so I end up taking that close set for sure. And then I go up against Corey Brown, who is playing Lost Zone Gudra, which is like probably one of the best matchups I could ask for. The first game, I get he doesn't put a Manaphy down, so I just get the play off with the Greninja like 2 times, and then the game is effectively over. The second game, he goes into the Gudra on turn 2, gets to 7, gets to Gudra, and I'm able to one-shot the Gudra because I'm one of the few decks that can hit 360. Definitely was pretty easy because I opened Chien Pao, and then from there, his resources were like completely exhausted, I think. And I'm able to get like, I like have the Chien Pao in the active, and I have like a million cards in hand. And I'm able to like pull off the switcher Cologne play the next turn, so it's just like complete lights out from that point in time. And now I'm a 6-2. You'd think I'd ID, right? But no. A new year, new me, baby. We're trying to play for better placements. We're trying to win the tournament. So up against Devin Feather, and I don't think I am exaggerating when I say this is one of the most unpleasant games of Pokemon I've played in my 12 years of Pokemon. I sit down. Mr. Devin does explain that he is a fan. Awesome. Congratulations. You're amazing. And he's like telling me, I paid good money to be here. Blah blah blah. Like all this stuff about potentially making his first day too. Obviously, I'm very empathetic, so it kind of sucks to hear all this stuff. And I'm like, hey man, we're gonna have to play. So we play game 1. I end up winning game 1. I get too far ahead going first against Fusion Mew. Feels pretty good. And then we're shuffling up for game 2, and Mr. Devin asks for a sleeve check because he sees that some of my sleeves are quote unquote suspicious. Pretty ridiculous. We get a judge. I fully comply. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. No, I have nothing to be afraid of. I got deck checked round 8. My sleeves are clean. I don't mark cards, like none of that stuff. Like, yeah, please deck check me. Sounds awesome. So I get deck checked. It comes back. I have like 4 ding sleeves. It's like a water, Chien Pao, SER, and a stop. Like multiple 4-ofs, whatever. They're like slightly more ding than the other ones, and I'm like, sure, I'll just replace them right now. Show it to him. He says that they could be something, they could be important. I don't know if it was a joking tone or not. Definitely not the place to make a joke. We're playing game 2. Game 2 wraps up with my final 6 cards in deck are like Switcher, Stop, Irida, 2 dead cards, and I have Greninja, and I need to hit double Switcher right there, and I win the game. Or like Switcher, Stop maybe, or like some combination of like Switcher, Irida. Like I have not pretty good odds, but I have a win con, and then I think he needs to find last tablet boss to win the game. And I think a switching effect as well. And I don't get there, and he finds it, and there's like about a minute and a half left on the clock, and I'm like for sure probably gonna take the tie here because it's Fusion Mew, and I have more of a risk to get donked here than to play the game. And he begins pleading, and it just like really makes me uncomfortable in the situation because like what am I supposed to do? Like don't do that. Like don't beg at the table. And it's also the table judge's fault who were there to enforce the fact that he had asked for multiple IDs, begging and putting me in an uncomfortable situation. I don't know what to do there. And so I just take the tie and I move on. But I was very unhappy with how that game went. Not because of anything in the game. I think I played fine. I think he played very fine. I think the matchup went how it's supposed to, more or less, both ways. But just a very unpleasant experience in general. Congratulations to him on top 32. But you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that at tournaments. It's just a bad look. There was multiple people who watched it, multiple people who saw what was going on. A lot of people were like, hey, if you want me to be a witness to the judges, I can. And I was like, I don't want to escalate this. I don't want to take this any further. Let's just call it a day here. It just shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened the way it did. None of that should happen. We're all grown adults here. Shouldn't have happened. Anyway, come back tomorrow. Get a good night's rest. Come in, round 10, Kevin Kate playing Judge Path Mew. Game 1, I make a very interesting sequence of events where he gets the Judge Path off pretty well, and I get to play out of it. Feels super good. I'm like, hell yeah, I get to play out of Judge Path, and I have a play. I Greninja it, so I have 6 prizes remaining, and I'm going to take 3. I know he's gonna boss backs, and I prize my last candy. So and I prize 2 waters. So either I play by putting 3. I SCR to put 2 out of my discard and put 3 total energies on my board remaining after I one-shot the Mew. And give myself a chance to just hit the water, and because he has the only Mew max that's left is damaged, and I just win the game by just attaching an energy and 240ing. Or I hold the SCR, have one energy on board, which is my pivot, which is Greninja, and bank on hitting the candy. So statistically, it's higher odds I hit one water off of 3 prizes being taken over the candy. I hit the candy. And then he boss backs, and I was an energy short of winning the game. Absolutely crazy, absolutely ridiculous. I was like, man, statistically punished. And then game 2, I'm able to Greninja twice. And so the game just becomes super easy from there. Because all his Mews now have like 90 damage, and he just can't, like, leap doesn't matter, nothing matters, and I just win. Game 3, we are in the early stages of setup. It's my, like, first attacking turn, and Devin and I looked at each other, and Devin's like, it's probably going to be a tie, and I was like, I'm going to try to go ahead and one-shot your Mew VMAX here on turn 0. If I do, there's a potential window that I can win the game, because he had 2 VMAXs and then 4 Genesects in play, and that was it. I ended up falling 1 energy short. I didn't open Chien Pao, which was, like, really unfortunate to doing the sequence events. I'm sure Devin would have just leapt and closed the game out there. Like, that's what you're supposed to do there. Bench another Mew, attach DTE, and just Psychic Leap and close the game out. Make sure I have no window. And then the set just ends in a tie. But I end up missing by 1 energy, and so we just end up tying. And so starting off the day 0-1, I'm pretty sure my top 8 shot is already gone. It's doomed. Then I hit Clayton, who's playing a Chien Pao mirror. Absolute blast. Game 1, Clayton goes first, whiffs a couple things on turn 2, and I pop off, and I don't whiff, and I get the first knockout on his Chien Pao with my Chien Pao, and then he whiffs backs again the following turn, and so the game is over. And then the next game, he sets up pretty well, I set up pretty well, I'm far behind at this point, and I go for the Kyogre play to knock out his back Excalibur on the bench. And he sets up another back Excalibur, sets up the board, and then he whiffs knockout at a certain point on something, which just wins me the game. But if he had gotten the knockout, my play was to just Super Rod, which was sitting in my hand. I had Irida in hand. I was going to Super Rod Irida, get the Kyogre again, and just pop the backs. He had no energy on board. I would go down to 2 prizes. He would be at 1, I believe, at this point. And then all I have to do is effectively establish a Chien Pao and take out his Chien Pao, and the game is over. But it didn't get to that, but I had a game plan in mind. That's like the one match that Kyogre would have won me, and did, I think, technically win me the match. So I will give it to Kyogre. Then I go up against Sackett. Sackett is an awesome player, really good Lost Box player. Game 1 comes down to the wire, where I'm in a position where I can make a late game Cologne switcher play to win the game. I have a Cologne, I have a switcher in hand. I have 1, I think, Irida in like a 15-ish card deck, and I have 3 switchers in my whole deck. I have not used any other switchers. And so I'm sitting there with my whole hand, and I'm like, all right, Sack, I've got 1 Greninja to get here, give it to me. And he does my whole deck, because he goes, no. And then I draw 2 cards, and there's just 2 dead cards. And then I end up just retreating and knocking out the active Sableye with my Greninja anyway, leaving Sackett on a position to find. He had like an 8-card hand, so I was pretty sure I was cooked here. But I had to put him in a position to find Raikou, Gate, a retreat option. 4 cards were gone, 2 ropes were gone, and a boss. He had to find all those. He does his first Flower Sight thing, doesn't get there. He had already gates and everything, and then he goes concealed cards. He's got like a 10-card deck or something, and then he goes a rope. I rope, send up something else, whatever. I think it's like a mana fee. Same thing, Flower Select thing, and then he hits the boss. He just shows me the whole pieces, like he shows me rope, boss, everything, and I'm like, yep, you got it. Game 2 also comes down to the wire open Kyogre, but Sackett is also like dead drawing a little bit, so he 110s me, and then he just starts passing because he doesn't want me to move the Kyogre, and I eventually start to establish a board, get to the Kyogre, I find like he's just like letting me build my hand at this point, so I'm just Greninjaing like pretty much every turn, stopping every turn, building my hand, and I get to the point like 3 turns into this passing battle where I get the switchers, Cologne play, take out the Manaphy and a Comfey, putting Sack in a position where he has to put Manaphy back into play, and he doesn't actually get there. And then the end of the game puts me in a position where he has to Horn Boss the Kyogre to stall for a turn, or I just win. And he has to like Lost Mine and just like take a prize that turn, and then he has to take Lost Mine 1 more prize the next turn. But he like he has to put 12 on my Chien Pao, and just like be like, I have to 2-shot your Chien Pao. And the turn prior to that, my bottom 2 cards were Irida Greninja. That just wins me the game because I had Switcher in hand, and I was like, this, or not Switcher, SCR. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So But he like I knew that was his only play, and if I just hold my whole hand with the SER, I just can't lose. And so that's exactly what happens. And I just SER in the game ends because I just can. Kyogre is active, and then there's like a minute and a half on the clock. Time gets called on Sacket's on my turn 0 when I'm setting up, and Sackett is turn 1, and he starts playing a bunch of cards, and I tell Sackett, I was like, I think it's gonna be a tie, and he goes, I'm gonna go for 10 on Sableye this turn to pop both Frigibaxes, and I was like, would you do that in the regular game? He's like, absolutely. In this game 3 stand with how much time was like technically allowed, I was like, okay, go for it then. And he goes for the whole play. He whiffs by 1, actually going from 2 to 9 in 1 turn, and the loss zone was pretty impressive. And if he got to the 10, I would have conceded the game, giving Sackett a chance to make top 8. Eliminates us both from top 8 contention here with the draw. Got to do what I got to do to keep my tournament progressing. We end up tying. I'm out. Whatever. It is what it is. Round 13, Mike Diaz. He's playing Gardevoir. Both games pretty much go similarly where I get like the Greninja Cologne combo. I'm super dirty with it. He opens Zacian game 2, which also makes it super easy for me because I just popped the Zacian early. And game 1, I also like attack with. I set up 2 Baxcalibur, so I can attack with the Baxcalibur into the Gardevoir, the baby Gardevoir, and that like is something you should be doing. Attacking with your 1 prizers, not putting a 2 prizer in play for Gardevoir, and that just immediately loses them the game because they can't trade 1 for 1 after you go up 2. Like they just can't go 1 for 1. So that's kind of how I won that one. Round 14 was Evan. A lot of fun to play against Evan. Was an absolute blast, absolute pleasure. And then game 1, I kind of just popped the Zards, went kind of brazy with it. Evan game 2 sets up pretty perfectly. I kind of brick under his path, called a day. Game 3, I get the turn 2 Switcher Cologne combo. Went kind of crazy, wiped out Evan's board. He goes into a 0-card hand to try to play the game. But alas, I'm able to respond in kind because my hand is pretty good. I saw like a ton of cards in hand, and then I end up winning that one. So very close game, actually. I think could have gone either way, except for the game 3. The game 3 was just like very, it is what it is type of thing. Round 15, Gibby also playing Arc Zard. Same exact situation. Gibby was not playing a path, however, I believe he played like Sinnoh instead, which made his matchup even worse into me, where I just kind of like set up and I steamrolled his board. I like let him get the 2 prizes. Like I don't have the rush taking the first prize. So Zard is one of my better matchups, so obviously that is why I played the deck. And as you can see, my matchup spread was pretty favorable. Not too many 50-50s, not too many like close matchups, but I did get absolutely destroyed by Judge Path decks in this tournament. Only one of my ties did not involve Judge and Path being in the same deck, and causing an impact on the game, I would say. So overall, pretty happy I played Chien Pao. 21st is like a huge accomplishment. I've now crossed the 400 championship point threshold. I am 2/3 of the way to my invite. Another $1,000 in the book. Not a win, but we'll take it. Chien Pao was a ton of fun. A lot more thinking and a lot more decision making that I thought I'd have to make. My brain hurts quite a bit. I actually got home like 30 minutes ago. All that being said, thank you guys for watching. I don't know if I play Chien Pao again. It seems like definitely a cup deck for me. I don't know if I bring it to a regionals. It really felt too gambly for my blood. It felt like I was playing a casino, and I'm very risk averse as a person. So going Lugia into Chien Pao has like really not done well for my anxiety. I'm kidding. I'll be fine. But the deck was a lot of fun. I think the deck was really a good meta call for this weekend. Obviously, it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, but I think that the jig is up. I think Chien Pao is no longer a good regionals play, but if you're having fun with it and you know what you're doing, go for it. That being said, hope you guys enjoyed the content. Please like and subscribe, and that'll be all from me. Peace out.